Hidden potential. The cool blue light of her basement workshop cast long shadows as Sophia Bennett made final adjustments to the miniature propeller system. At 34, she had spent 15 years refining her understanding of aerodynamics, but this project was different. This wasn't just another corporate assignment. This was her vision, her dream of electric aircraft that could revolutionize sustainable aviation. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Thomas. "Working late again. Don't wait up." Sophia placed a protective hand over her swollen belly, feeling the baby, a girl, according to the ultrasound, kick against her palm. 6 months pregnant, and her husband had been working late with increasing frequency. She hadn't planned to visit his office yesterday. The doctor had recommended a short walk after her appointment, and Thomas's financial firm was only 2 blocks away. She thought she might surprise him, perhaps suggest an early dinner. Instead, she was the one surprised. Through the glass walls of his corner office, she saw Thomas with his hand on the small of Vanessa Porter's back, his 27-year-old marketing director. The intimacy of the gesture was unmistakable, as was the way Vanessa leaned into him, laughing at something he said. Sophia had turned away before either noticed her. She spent the night processing what she'd seen, weighing her options while Thomas slept beside her, oblivious to her discovery. "What do you think, little one?" Sophia whispered to her unborn daughter. "Should we confront Daddy and watch him scramble with excuses? Or should we show him what he's underestimating?" The baby kicked again, stronger this time. Sophia smiled, interpreting it as a vote for the latter. Her computer chimed with an incoming video call. She clicked to accept, and Helena Wu's face filled the screen. At 52, Helena was a legend in venture capital circles, known for backing women-led tech startups. "Sophia, how's my favorite aerospace genius?" Helena's smile faltered as she noticed Sophia's workshop. "Are you still in your basement? Tell me Thomas isn't making you work from home in your condition." Sophia shook her head. "Thomas doesn't know about this project. He thinks I'm just tinkering to keep busy during my maternity leave." Helena's eyebrows shot up. "He doesn't know you've developed a potentially revolutionary electric propulsion system? Or that you've been consulting with NASA engineers about it? Or that you're presenting to my investment committee next week?" "He's been distracted," Sophia said carefully. Helena's expression softened with understanding. "The young marketing director?" Sophia blinked in surprise. "How did you— The financial world is small and gossip travels fast," Helena said gently. "I'm sorry, Sophia." Sophia straightened her shoulders. "Don't be. If Thomas wants to underestimate me, that's his mistake. I'm not just an engineer with a good idea anymore, Helena. I'm building something significant." She turned her laptop to show the complete miniature prototype of her aircraft design. "The simulations confirm it. With the right materials and scaling, this design increases efficiency by 43% while reducing manufacturing costs by nearly 30%. Sustainable aviation isn't just possible, it's commercially viable." Helena leaned closer to her screen. "Magnificent. The committee will be impressed, but you know they'll ask about your plan for actually building this. You'll need a company, a team." "I've already incorporated," Sophia replied, pulling up documents on her screen. "Aurora Aviation. I've been quietly reaching out to former colleagues, brilliant people who were overlooked or pushed aside. They're ready to join once we secure funding." "And the baby?" Helena asked. "Running a startup is demanding even without a newborn," Sophia smiled. "I've arranged for a nanny with aerospace engineering experience, a retired engineer who wants to stay connected to the field while helping care for children. Plus, I've designed the company with remote work options and an on-site childcare facility." Helena nodded appreciatively. "You've thought of everything." "Not everything," Sophia admitted. "I haven't decided what to do about Thomas." "What do you want to do?" Sophia considered the question, running her fingers along the smooth curves of her aircraft model. "Part of me wants to confront him immediately. Another part wants to wait, to build something so extraordinary that when he finally discovers what I've done, he'll realize exactly what he's thrown away." "And which part is winning?" Upstairs, Sophia heard the front door open and close. "Thomas was home early for once. I should go," she said. "But to answer your question, I'm an engineer, Helena. I believe in building things to last. Whether that includes my marriage remains to be seen." As she ended the call and covered her prototype, Sophia felt a strange calm settle over her. Whatever happened with Thomas, she was no longer just his pregnant wife. She was a founder, an innovator, a woman with wings of her own, and soon the world would know it. Building in shadows. 3 months after securing Helena's investment, Sophia's life had split into carefully managed compartments. By day, she was the expectant mother preparing a nursery in soft yellows and greens. By night, she transformed into the founder and CEO of Aurora Aviation, orchestrating her vision from a converted warehouse on the outskirts of Seattle. The computational fluid dynamics look promising, said Dr. Rajiv Patel, the brilliant aerodynamics expert Sophia had lured from a major aircraft manufacturer. He pointed to simulations running on the massive screen before them. Your design reduces drag by 27% compared to conventional models. Sophia nodded, shifting uncomfortably as the baby pressed against her ribs. At 8 months pregnant, she found herself constantly adjusting to accommodate her growing daughter. We need to refine the battery configuration, she said, pulling up another schematic. Weight distribution is still problematic for extended flights. Sophia, it's nearly midnight, said Elena Gomez, Aurora's chief operating officer and Sophia's former college roommate. You should rest. Sophia smiled tiredly. I'll head home soon. Thomas texted that he's staying in the city tonight. Client dinner running late. Elena's expression darkened. At the hotel bar with Vanessa, you mean? Marcus saw them there when he was meeting investors. Marcus Chen, their chief financial officer, looked up from his laptop and nodded grimly. They weren't exactly hiding it. Sophia's hand instinctively moved to her belly. Let him dig his hole deeper. We have more important things to focus on. What Thomas didn't know, what he had never bothered to ask, was that Sophia had inherited a substantial sum from her grandmother 2 years ago. This inheritance, combined with Helena's investment and Sophia's own savings, had provided the initial capital for Aurora Aviation, while Thomas assumed she was simply taking extended maternity leave from her engineering position. Sophia was building an empire. The next morning, Thomas returned home as Sophia was making breakfast. Looking rumpled but unapologetic. Rough night? She asked mildly, setting a cup of coffee before him. Merger negotiations went late, he said, not meeting her eyes. How are you feeling? Not too tired, I hope. I'm managing, Sophia replied, the understatement of the year. Between pregnancy and secretly running a startup, she was exhausted but exhilarated. Thomas barely looked up from his phone. Good. Listen, I've got to fly to Chicago next weekend for a conference. Vanessa's team needs to present our new marketing strategy. Both of you need to go? Sophia asked, keeping her voice neutral. Thomas finally glanced up, irritation flashing across his features. It's important, Sophia. I can't exactly put my career on hold just because we're having a baby. The we stung with its hypocrisy, but Sophia simply nodded. Of course not. I'll manage here. With Thomas away more frequently, Sophia had greater freedom to build Aurora. She assembled a team of 20 engineers, designers, and business specialists, all working under strict confidentiality agreements. Many were women who had faced barriers in traditional aerospace companies. Others were innovators whose ideas had been dismissed as too radical. They underestimated us, Sophia told Helena during a progress review. That's our advantage. 2 weeks before her due date, Aurora Aviation achieved its first major milestone, a successful test flight of their scale prototype. Sophia watched from the control room, tears streaming down her face as the elegant aircraft rose silently into the dawn sky, powered entirely by their revolutionary electric system. It works, whispered Rajiv beside her, his voice choked with emotion. It actually works, Elena squeezed Sophia's hand. And this is just the beginning. When Sophia went into labor 3 days later, Thomas was in a budget meeting. By the time he reached the hospital, Lily Bennett had already arrived. 6 pounds, 7 ounces of fierce determination, with Sophia's dark curls and curious eyes. She's perfect, Thomas said, holding his daughter awkwardly. Guilt momentarily softened his features as he looked at his exhausted wife. I should have been here sooner. Sophia watched him, seeing clearly what she had been blind to for years. Thomas had never truly seen her. Not her intelligence, not her ambition, not her heart. He admired her potential, but resented her reality, seeking validation in Vanessa's adoration instead. Yes, Sophia agreed quietly. You should have. In the hospital room, as Thomas cradled their daughter, Sophia's phone lit up with a message from Elena. Patent approved. We're clear for phase 2, Sophia smiled, feeling a complex mixture of emotions. Bringing new life into the world on the same day her company secured its future seemed fitting somehow. Both represented creation against odds, possibility born from challenge. As Lily slept in her arms, Sophia made a decision. She would give Thomas one more chance, not for her sake, but for their daughters. He could choose to be the husband and father they deserved, or he could continue his path of deception. Either way, Sophia would continue building her wings in the shadows, preparing for the day when she would finally soar into the light. Turbulence and triumph. Absolutely not, thundered Gerald Blackwood, the aging head of Pacific Northwest Aeronautics. Electric aircraft for commercial transport is a pipe dream. The energy density simply isn't there. Sophia maintained her composure, though her pulse quickened. She had expected resistance at this meeting of industry leaders, but the outright dismissal was still frustrating. Our proprietary battery technology addresses precisely that limitation, she replied, gesturing to the technical specifications displayed on the conference room screen. As the test data shows, test data from a prototype the size of a compact car, interrupted another executive. Scaling to commercial size introduces challenges your little startup can't possibly overcome. 6 months after Lily's birth, Aurora Aviation had grown to 40 employees and attracted attention throughout the aerospace community, some supportive, much skeptical. Today's presentation to potential industry partners was critical for their next phase of development. Sophia glanced at Helena, who gave an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. Gentlemen, Sophia said, straightening her shoulders. 13 months ago, I founded Aurora Aviation while 8 months pregnant, after established companies like yours rejected these same concepts. Since then, we've secured 5 patents, developed a working prototype, and attracted $27 million in private investment. Underestimate us at your own risk. A silence fell over the room. Then, from the back, a slow clap began. William Carruthers, the forward-thinking CEO of Zenith Airlines, stood with an appreciative smile. Well said, Ms. Bennett. Zenith would be interested in discussing a potential partnership. As the meeting concluded with several tentative expressions of interest, Sophia checked her phone. 3 missed calls from Lily's nanny and a text. Mr. Bennett canceled again. Lily's running fever. Please call. This was the 3rd time in 2 weeks Thomas had failed to pick up their daughter as promised. His excuse was always the same, unavoidable work commitments, but Sophia had seen the photos on social media. Thomas and Vanessa at gallery openings, charity galas, weekend getaways. Meanwhile, Sophia juggled motherhood and her growing company, stealing moments with Lily between meetings and working through the night after her daughter fell asleep. Go, Helena said, noticing Sophia's expression. I'll handle the follow-up calls. Your daughter needs you. At home, Sophia found Lily fussy with a mild ear infection. As she rocked her daughter, administering the prescribed medication, Thomas finally called. Sorry about today, he said, ambient noise suggesting he was at a restaurant. Client emergency. How's Lily? Sick, Sophia replied shortly. With the same ear infection she had last week, which you would know if you'd been here. Thomas sighed dramatically. I'm trying, Sophia. But this merger is crucial for my career. You're on extended leave anyway. Surely you can handle things at home. The casual dismissal of her role made Sophia's blood boil. Extended leave was Thomas's convenient fiction, never questioning how she spent her days while Lily was with the nanny. He assumed Sophia was simply taking time off, perhaps doing minor consulting work, utterly oblivious to her accomplishments. Of course, she said coolly. Enjoy your client meeting. That night, after settling Lily, Sophia faced a critical decision in her workshop. Aurora's prototype had proven the concept, but manufacturing a full-scale aircraft required facilities they didn't yet have. The obvious solution was partnership with an established manufacturer, but that meant surrendering some control. "You look troubled," observed Elena, who had stopped by to review production options. Sophia gestured to the scale model of their aircraft. "We've come this far independently. Taking on a major partner feels like compromising our vision." "Or accelerating it," countered Elena. "With the right agreement, we could have our first commercial aircraft in production within 18 months instead of 3 years. Sophia considered this. "What if we approach it differently? What if we build our own manufacturing facility, maintain complete control, but license specific technologies to partners for other applications?" Elena's eyes widened. "That would require at least $100 million in additional funding." "Then that's what we'll raise," Sophia said firmly. Lily deserves to see that her mother didn't just create something brilliant. She refused to let others diminish its potential. Over the next 3 months, Aurora Aviation faced its greatest challenges. 2 key engineers were poached by competitors. A critical component failed during testing, requiring a complete redesign. Sophia developed pneumonia from exhaustion and spent a week in the hospital, managing the company from her bed while Thomas made brief, distracted visits between meetings. Yet for every setback, there were breakthroughs. The redesigned component proved more efficient than the original. New talent joined, attracted by Aurora's growing reputation. Sophia recovered, implementing stricter boundaries between work and family time. The turning point came when the Federal Aviation Administration granted preliminary approval for Aurora's revolutionary propulsion system, an unprecedented fast-tracking that recognized the technology's significance for sustainable aviation. The day after the FAA announcement, Sophia returned home early to find Thomas packing a suitcase. "Weekend golf retreat with clients," he explained, barely looking up. "How was your day? That consulting project keeping you busy?" Sophia leaned against the doorframe, studying this stranger she had married. "Actually, my company just received FAA approval for technology that will transform aviation as we know it." Thomas glanced up, confusion crossing his features. "Your company? What are you talking about?" Sophia smiled enigmatically. "Oh, just a little project I've been working on while you've been busy with Vanessa." Thomas froze, color draining from his face. "Sophia, save it," she interrupted. "I've known for over a year. Enjoy your golf weekend, Thomas. When you return, we should discuss our future, or lack thereof." As Thomas stood speechless, Sophia went to Lily's room where her daughter played with building blocks. At 18 months, Lily already showed Sophia's determination and creativity, carefully constructing towers only to knock them down and build something better. Watching her daughter, Sophia felt a surge of clarity. Everything she had built, her company, her confidence, her new understanding of her own worth, had happened not despite Thomas's betrayal, but alongside it. His underestimation had freed her to pursue her vision without his interference or judgment. Aurora Aviation wasn't just Sophia's response to a failing marriage. It was her declaration of independence, her gift to her daughter, and her contribution to a more sustainable world. And soon, everyone would know it. "The revelation. In just 48 hours, Aurora Aviation goes public," announced the CNBC anchor. With a valuation expected to exceed $2 billion, this electric aircraft startup has revolutionized sustainable aviation practically overnight. Joining us now is industry analyst Jonathan Ferris to discuss what some are calling the most important aerospace innovation since the jet engine. Thomas clicked off the television in his office, frowning at the interruption. He had more pressing concerns than some environmentally friendly airplane company, namely, the increasingly cold relationship with his wife and the growing complications of his affair with Vanessa, who had recently begun dropping hints about their future together. His assistant knocked tentatively. "Mr. Bennett? The courier delivered this for you." She handed him a heavy cream envelope embossed with an unfamiliar logo, stylized wings with an aurora of light behind them. Inside was an invitation. "Aurora Aviation cordially invites you to the unveiling of Horizon 1, the world's first commercial-scale electric passenger aircraft, September 15th at 7 p.m. Seattle Flight Museum." Thomas tossed it aside. He had no interest in aircraft innovation, and the date conflicted with plans he'd made with Vanessa. Still, something about the logo nagged at him. Hadn't he seen it somewhere in his house recently? Perhaps Sophia had mentioned the company during one of her increasingly rare conversations with him. His phone rang. Vanessa, eager to confirm their weekend plans. As they spoke, Thomas absent-mindedly flipped through the stack of mail his assistant had brought in. A business magazine caught his eye. Or rather, the woman on its cover, Sophia, his wife looking confidently into the camera beneath the headline, "The Future Has Wings, How Sophia Bennett is Revolutionizing Aviation." Thomas nearly dropped the phone. "I'll call you back," he told Vanessa, hanging up abruptly. He devoured the article, disbelief mounting with each paragraph. Sophia Bennett, described as a visionary aerospace engineer, had founded Aurora Aviation while pregnant with their daughter. The company had developed proprietary electric propulsion technology that promised to reduce aviation emissions by 70% while cutting operating costs. Their first commercial aircraft was about to be unveiled after 2 years of secret development. 2 years. The timeline hit Thomas like a physical blow. His wife had built a billion-dollar company right under his nose while he'd been pursuing Vanessa, dismissing Sophia as simply a stay-at-home mother with a part-time consulting gig. He called Sophia immediately, but the call went to voicemail. Next, he tried Elena Gomez, listed in the article as Aurora's coup, and apparently Sophia's best friend, though Thomas had never heard her mentioned. "Bennett residence," answered an unfamiliar voice. "I need to speak with my wife," Thomas demanded. "Mrs. Bennett is unavailable," the voice replied coolly. "She's preparing for tomorrow's company launch. May I take a message?" Thomas hung up, anger and confusion warring within him. How could Sophia have hidden something of this magnitude? Why hadn't she told him about Aurora Aviation? Then, with dawning horror, he realized she had, in 100 small ways he'd ignored. The late nights she'd attributed to projects. The workshop in the basement he never visited. The industry colleagues who called their home, but whom Thomas had never bothered to meet. The next evening, Thomas arrived at the Seattle Flight Museum 30 minutes before the scheduled unveiling. The venue was transformed, glowing with the Aurora Aviation colors and filled with industry leaders, government officials, and media. He recognized faces from financial news and aviation magazines, people whose attention he would have coveted for his own career. At the center of it all stood Sophia, resplendent in a midnight blue suit, Lily balanced on her hip as she chatted confidently with what appeared to be cabinet members and airline executives. Beside her stood Helena Wu, the legendary venture capitalist whom Thomas had once unsuccessfully pitched for investment in his firm. "You must be the husband," said a voice beside him. Thomas turned to find Rajiv Patel, Aurora's chief technology officer, according to the program in Thomas's hand. "Sophia mentioned you might attend." "Yes," Thomas managed, struggling to process the reality before him. "I'm still taking it all in." Rajiv's expression remained neutral, but his eyes were evaluating. Understandable. Not everyone appreciates the significance of what Sophia has accomplished. Creating next-generation aircraft technology while raising a child and dealing with other challenges is extraordinary. The subtle emphasis left no doubt that Sophia's team knew about Thomas's infidelity. Before he could respond, the lights dimmed, and Helena Wu took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, 2 years ago, a brilliant engineer came to me with a vision for truly sustainable aviation. Many said it couldn't be done. Tonight, Aurora Aviation proves them wrong. Please welcome our founder and CEO, Sophia Bennett." The crowd erupted in applause as Sophia handed Lily to Elena and took the stage. With poise and authority, she outlined Aurora's journey and technology, then gestured toward massive hangar doors at the back of the venue. "Words can only explain so much," she said with a smile. "Let me show you the future of flight." The doors rolled open, revealing an aircraft unlike any Thomas had seen, sleek, beautiful, with an almost ethereal quality to its design. The Horizon One, Sophia's creation. Using our proprietary electric propulsion system, Horizon One can carry 150 passengers up to 1,200 miles with zero emissions and operating costs 40% lower than conventional aircraft. And today, I'm pleased to announce that Zenith Airlines has ordered 50 Horizon One aircraft with options for 50 more. The announcement triggered gasps, then thunderous applause. Thomas stood frozen as the value of what Sophia had built crashed over him in waves. This wasn't just a successful company. This was history-making innovation. After the presentation, Thomas pushed through the crowd toward Sophia, who was speaking with William Carruthers of Zenith Airlines. She saw him approaching, excused herself from the conversation, and met him halfway. "Quite a surprise," Thomas said, struggling to keep his voice even. "You've been busy." Sophia's gaze was steady, unperturbed. "Yes, I have. Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, aware even as he asked that the question exposed his own negligence. "I did," she replied simply. "You weren't listening." Before Thomas could respond, Elena appeared with Lily, who reached joyfully for her mother. Sophia took her daughter, the transition seamless and practiced. "Mrs. Bennett," called a photographer, "could we get a photo of you with the horizon one? The mother and innovator angle is compelling." Sophia smiled. "Of course." She turned to Thomas. "If you'll excuse me, I have a company to run and a daughter to raise. We can discuss this at home." As she walked away, poised between the aircraft she had created and the child they had created together, Thomas finally saw his wife clearly, not as an accessory to his ambitions or a convenient support for his lifestyle, but as a force of nature who had quietly surpassed anything he had ever achieved, and he had almost missed it entirely. New Horizons, the Bennett home had never been so quiet. 3 days after Aurora Aviation's triumphant launch, Thomas and Sophia sat across from each other at their kitchen table, mugs of untouched coffee between them. Lily was with her nanny in the garden, giving her parents privacy for a conversation long overdue. "So," Thomas began, struggling to find his footing in this new reality, "you're a CEO of a billion-dollar company." "Yes," Sophia confirmed simply, neither apologetic nor boastful. "And you kept it from me because—" Sophia studied him, her expression thoughtful rather than angry. "I didn't keep it from you, Thomas. I just stopped trying to make you notice. There's a difference." She reached for a tablet and pulled up a calendar. "Here's the day I incorporated Aurora Aviation. I mentioned it at dinner. You were texting under the table and said, 'That's nice, dear.'" She swiped to another date. "Here's when we secured our first major investment. I tried to celebrate with you, but you had plans with Vanessa." Thomas flinched at the name. "About Vanessa? I don't need explanations," Sophia interrupted. "I need decisions. Yours and mine." Outside, Lily's laughter floated through the window as she discovered something delightful in the garden. The sound centered Sophia, reminding her why this conversation mattered. "I built Aurora for many reasons," she continued. "Partly to prove I could, partly because the technology matters for our planet's future, but mostly for Lily. To show her that women can create, lead, and transform industries even when the world underestimates them." Thomas leaned forward. "Sophia, what happened with Vanessa? It was a mistake." "Seeing what you've accomplished, I realize how blind I've been." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Would you be saying this if Aurora was still a struggling startup? Or if it had failed? Be honest, Thomas. Is it me you suddenly value or my success?" The question hung between them, cutting through pretense. Thomas opened his mouth to protest, then closed it, honesty finally prevailing. "I don't know," he admitted. "I'd like to think I would have come to my senses eventually, but I don't know." Sophia nodded, appreciating his rare candor. "Neither do I. And that's the problem." She rose and moved to the window, watching Lily examine a butterfly with intense concentration. At 2 years old, her daughter already showed the same focus Sophia brought to her engineering challenges. "I don't hate you, Thomas. Sometimes I wish I did. It would make this easier. But we built a life together, created a beautiful daughter. Those facts don't change because you strayed or because I succeeded." Thomas joined her at the window. "What happens now?" Sophia turned to face him. "That depends. Aurora is entering a critical growth phase. I'll be traveling internationally, securing partnerships, overseeing production. Lily will come with me when possible, stay with my parents when not. Where do you fit in this picture? As a co-parent who lives separately? As a husband trying to rebuild trust? Those are your choices to make." "And if I want to try to fix this?" Thomas asked, his voice smaller than Sophia had ever heard it. "Then you start by ending things with Vanessa, completely and permanently. Then you find a therapist, for yourself individually and for us as a couple. You make Lily a priority, not an afterthought. And you accept that my company isn't a hobby or a phase, it's my life's work. Thomas was silent for a long moment. And if I can't meet those conditions? Then we proceed with a divorce that's as amicable as possible for Lily's sake. You'll always be her father, Thomas. That doesn't change. 3 months later, Sophia stood on the observation deck of Aurora Aviation's new manufacturing facility outside Seattle. Below, the first production model of Horizon 1 was taking shape, its distinctive wings symbolizing not just aerodynamic efficiency, but the company's soaring ambitions. Beside her stood William Carruthers of Zenith Airlines, who had become both a key customer and mentor as Sophia navigated the challenges of scaling her company. The board is impressed with production timelines, he noted. Many startups struggle with the transition from prototype to manufacturing, Sophia smiled. We're not most startups. I built this team to execute, not just innovate. Her phone chimed with a calendar alert. Lily's dance recital, 5 p.m. Sophia had rearranged 3 international calls to ensure she wouldn't miss it. Family commitment? William asked, noticing her check the time. My daughter's first ballet performance, Sophia confirmed. Wild horses couldn't keep me away. As her driver navigated toward Lily's preschool, Sophia reflected on the changes of recent months. Thomas had, somewhat to her surprise, met her conditions. He had ended his relationship with Vanessa, begun therapy, and made genuine efforts to rebuild their family, though trust remained fragile. A work in progress rather than a completed restoration, Aurora Aviation had exceeded even Helena's optimistic projections, with orders for Horizon 1 now exceeding 300 aircraft and a valuation approaching $3 billion. Sophia had assembled a management team that allowed her to balance leadership with motherhood, refusing to sacrifice either role. At the dance studio, Sophia slipped into a seat in the front row. Moments later, Thomas arrived, having left work early as promised. They exchanged cautious smiles, the warmth between them growing slowly, like a seedling after winter, when Lily pranced onto the stage in her tutu, spotting her parents and beaming with delight. Sophia felt a surge of emotion that dwarfed even the triumph of Horizon 1's unveiling. This moment of connection, of family witnessing their child's joy, was success in its purest form. After the recital, as Lily chattered excitedly between them, Sophia caught Thomas watching her with an expression she hadn't seen in years, genuine admiration mixed with something deeper. What? She asked as Lily ran ahead to the car. I was just thinking, Thomas said quietly, that I almost lost the most extraordinary woman I've ever known. I'm grateful for this second chance, Sophia. More than I can say. Sophia considered his words, neither accepting nor rejecting them. Second chances, like the aircraft she designed, required both precise engineering and a certain faith in possibilities. The marriage she and Thomas had built initially had crashed spectacularly, but perhaps something stronger could rise from its components, not through blind trust, but through conscious choice and renewed commitment. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Sophia retreated to her home office to review proposals for Aurora's next project. Regional electric aircraft that could serve smaller communities currently, dependent on carbon-intensive transportation. Her desk sat a family photo taken at Lily's birthday alongside aviation awards and the magazine cover featuring Sophia's profile. These weren't separate aspects of her life, but integrated parts of a whole: the mother, the innovator, the woman who had refused to be defined by others' limitations. Outside her window, actual aurora lights painted the night sky in ethereal greens and purples. Sophia watched them dance across the horizon, shifting and transforming but never diminishing in brilliance, like the phenomenon that inspired her company's name. Sophia had emerged from darkness to create her own light, not to outshine others, but to illuminate possibilities others couldn't see. Whether her marriage survived remained uncertain, but Sophia herself had never been more sure of her path. She had built wings strong enough to carry herself, her daughter, and perhaps even Thomas toward whatever future they chose, together or apart. The sky, with all its challenges and opportunities, welcomed her now, not as an outsider, but as someone who had earned her place among its currents and clouds. Sophia Bennett had not just built an aviation company. She had reconstructed herself, proving that true power lay not in revenge or resentment, but in the courage to transform adversity into altitude and to soar on wings of her own design.